Hey TPAers, I am coming to you today with a hot take on how to really pack a punch with your writing as you are filling out your TPA templates. This is going to apply to cycle 1 or cycle 2. There's a formula that I used to use as a teacher evaluator when I was having to make claims about teaching. And you can't just go in a teacher's classroom and start making a bunch of claims about their teaching without having some seriously hard evidence to back it up. And it needs to be low inference evidence, not based on my opinion, just based on, what happened. And so we used a book called The Skillful Teacher by John Saphir, and it's a book that you may see sometime in your teaching career. But that formula is called CEIJ. And it's going to help you greatly to make sure that you are answering, first of all, answering all the questions completely, not glossing over one part of the question in the prompt. Sometimes people gloss over things like when it says based on students' assets and learning needs, how did you, or based on what you know about students' assets and learning needs, how did you kind of incorporate that into your lesson? And some students will kind of ignore that part where it says based on student assets and learning needs because they'll think, oh, I'm teaching a math lesson. I don't know how to kind of incorporate that. So we really need to make sure that we are answering all parts of the question because the assessors know when you're not doing that. And so we want to give full, complete answers. And one of the best formulas that I have found for doing this is CEI. So anytime you make a claim, you are making claims throughout your entire TPA. Through so many of these prompts, it's asking you things like, was your lesson effective? And sometimes students will say things like, I think my lesson was effective and I know this through my formative assessment. That's a pretty vague statement. And we don't want the word vague associated with our TPA. That actually is a word that the assessors can use in your score report. So we want to make sure that we're giving them, the TPA is an evidence package. We want to make sure that we're giving them some bangarang evidence that we did these teacher moves and this is what we did. So using the CEI acronym, if you can go through as you write your TPA and you make sure that if you make a claim, C, that you're backing it up with evidence, E. So yes, my lesson was effective. And here's how I know. 26 out of 28 of my students were able to demonstrate the learning objective of students will be able to add fractions with common denominators. Here's how they demonstrated the learning goal. Here are the variety of ways that I checked for understanding throughout the lesson. That's a lot of evidence. And that's going to back up that claim that you just made versus something like, yes, I think my lesson was effective. And I think I know through my formative assessment strategies. You see the difference? So make a claim, you back up that bad boy with some serious evidence of how you did that teacher move. Yes, I did. We're gonna go back to the whole show, don't tell philosophy of really show them through your evidence. And then where it warrants it, and it does in many places in your TPA, be able to talk about the impact on your students as well. So the impact on student learning. So basically, if you use the CEI formula, what you're giving to the assessors is a well-rounded response where you're presenting the evidence that they are truly asking for when it comes to each of these prompts is really asking you to prove, yes, I intentionally did student grouping in this way. Here's why I did it. Here's how it impacted my students. Here's how it particularly benefited Focus Student 1. Here's how it impacted, so you're really giving them this holistic, well-rounded, pack-a-punch, very non-vague response to each of the question prompts. And so many times when people come through remediation because they got a no score, they didn't get a score, they got a condition code, or they didn't pass their TPA, if I look through some of the prompts, I see the things that I see that are not working for students are things like not answering all parts of the question, being vague in their responses, going off on a tangent. Sometimes I will read 3 paragraphs of an answer that talk about a lot of things and a lot of really great things, but don't completely address the question that's being asked. So we really want to make sure that we're addressing what's being asked and addressing it with claim, evidence, impact, boom.